Okay, this is a video about heavy financial models, and I'm going to make it a little bit differently than I normally do. Normally, I kind of get criticized by going straight into the technical details. Pretend you were at an Excel New Year's Eve party where it should be so exciting. A bunch of Excel modelers are at a party. They have a few drinks. They talk about ranged names, debate. They talk about hmm, what are some of the other issues that are big. I don't know. And then Excel, I should that circular references. They talk about a little bit, and then they got to the subject of heavy models. What the hell a heavy model is anyway? Gotta this I had such a heavy model. Damn, I'm an auditor, and that damn person made the model too heavy. And then they start talking, I know how to make the model less heavy. And it turns out that these things that supposedly make models heavy, other than just having a whole lot of data, a whole lot of columns, a whole lot of rows, are old wives' tales. And I went to the internet, of course, and Googled what makes a model heavy. And I got very depressed because it says applying volatile functions. Indirect and offset are volatile functions. That means they have, if you write your own UDF function, they have a little thing called application.volatile. And every time you change an input, this function runs. Well, every time, God damn it, every time you change any function, if you've got a sum in the model and you change the input somewhere, probably the sum is going to change. This BS. And then using helper columns. I had to look that up. It's something with VLOOKUP, which you should never use ever, ever, ever. I could get emotional about that one. Avoid using a array formulas, well, like transpose or something. I don't see what's so bad about that. Maybe I should do a test on that. Use conditional formatting with caution. I kind of agree with that. Don't, your conditional formatting can explode. Okay, I've had that. Use Excel tables and named ranges. Tables are not what I call data tables, they're other tables. I don't know. Okay. Convert unused formulas to values. What in the hell are you talking about? Of course, you should have the inputs to inputs, and you don't make formulas that are uh, whatever. Keep all references in one sheet. If you have an input sheet, a gigantic, gigantic, gigantic input sheet, that's going to destroy, that's going to be a mess. I don't think you want to keep the inputs in a separate couple sheets. Of course, you don't want to screw up the rest of it. Avoid using entire row or column references. That's the thing that scared the hell out of me. And there were a couple of ones that said, don't do that. Use manual. These are old wives' tales. These suck. They're total bullshit. And I'm going to prove to them. And then so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go through the end right now. So the idea is to make a really big workbook. But before we make a workbook, I make, do I have this open? I do have it open. So before we do that, I made another a video a while ago, and I said, okay, this is just a one pager, but we make a monthly model going out to 400 months. And I tried, well, you can make your drawdowns with XLOOKUP, index match. XLOOKUP is so much better if it's not doesn't make the model heavy. Or you can kind of use a formula here where you it's all on one line, or you can put it fix the cells. So we have a little bit of an input sheet, audit sheet, and we have one uh, one kind of sheet. And then what you do is you take either the lookup, or in this case, I also at the very end I had a little bit of a, a, a sum if, and then in this case the offset was not there, so I had a sum if and an offset. And what you do then, what I did is, if I can find my thing again, then I made one. So you take the little file with just the one sheet, you take out the offset, take out the SUMIF, put in the XLOOKUP, take out the XLOOKUP. You make sure and only make one isolated change, do it one way in one case, another way in the other case. Everything else is identical. Be careful not to make the test bias. And then what you do is you create that, you copy, once you've changed it, you copy the sheets like 100 times and make a really heavy model. And then once you have a heavy model, you start test the things that really can drive you crazy with heavy models. Heavy model, bullshit. Uh, uh, Here's what you really want to know is the size of the model. Who gives a crap? You can put it on your whatever, OneDrive, Dropbox, Google Drive, whoever has the storage. Making a big model is not a big deal. Making a slow model is really, that hurts. And the worst thing of all is when you have to insert a whole bunch of lines. I hate it when you have to insert a whole bunch of lines and then, or what, even one line, and it takes like 3 minutes. Oh, it's hell. And we want to test if you use something like the entire line, if you use the offset function, what happens when you insert a line? Does it really slow you down? Now, I have some other comments. When the model is really heavy, don't take away those columns and columns at the end, rows at the bottom. So many times people make these mistakes when they think they're so fast or they excel, blah, 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 go back, forth, right, control, left, right. That happens. So now I'm going to report the results. Now, after I report the results, in case you don't believe these tests are legitimate, and if maybe they're not, maybe I biased them, and I really tried not to bias them. I try to be so careful. So the first test is, I hate it when it takes so much longer when you have a lookup or a match and you have a little row and you don't kind of just take the entire. If I want this lookup. Oh, this is a match index. Let me find a lookup. Where the hell's the lookup? Here's the lookup. If I just can put equal lookup and click on the date, I hope it's the date, and I always use the beginning date and end date, and I always emphasize that. And I forgot what this was. Was this the interest rate? And then you can just click on this and click on that. That's so fast. If you have to put equal lookup, I hate even doing this, and then you have to go every time you do the lookup, you do the same thing, and you go to the input page, and oh, we got to select this, press F4, put a comma, select this, go across, press the F4. Okay, it's not that much worse. Shift Control R. Whoops, I didn't have my generic macros open. All right, so that's what we're going to test. Is it really, does this using the whole line somehow slow you down? Now, when I made that test, here's what happened. So this is the first lookup, okay, and notice in this case I deleted those other two lines. So we just try one at a time. So we can test the X lookup, the lookup with the entire line, the fixed one. And then when you do this and you create, this time I created 80 sheets. Don't ask me why. I try to create a reasonable number. And then I create a little macro. And in the macro, I use that recalculate all the sheets basically to make sure it's really recalculated. And I just took one little input. In this case, I just took the debt to capital input. And where is that? I changed that from 90 to 80%. And notice that when I did that right now, it seemed to take a little bit of time, but you have to really be fair to make sure you really recalculate every single sheet. So there's a little macro, and in the calculation test, you kind of go through and you say, okay, let's take this 80, change it to 90, and then application calculate full and record the time at the beginning, time at the end. Once you've recorded the time at the beginning and the time at the end, you multiply it by 60 minutes an hour, 60 seconds an hour, 60 minutes a day, 24 hours a day, and take the end minus the beginning, and that's how you get the number of seconds it takes. This time it took, this one, in this example, it took 29 seconds. Long time. That's a very long time to sit there and wait for a recalculation. So when I did it with 80 sheets, it took 12 seconds to make a calculation with the entire row. And then I computed the size. Who gives a crap about the size anyway? I made a little size function. You can look at the files and get the size function. And then I said, let's take this sheet and just insert a row. I'm not going to do that now because it's going to take forever. Not forever, 20 seconds or something. That's forever when you're sitting at an Excel, okay? And then, and that's a very similar test. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. What I wanted to do is go to assign macro and press edit. And on that case, I put a little test right here. Here's the size to start. Here's the time we started. We're inserting a sheet. We go up and down, whatever. Oh, I inserted a sheet and then I deleted the sheet. Okay, a line. Oh, this one I deleted 2 lines. That's why it took a little longer, perhaps. Okay. And then I compute the time at the end. Okay. And in this case, it took forever. That was the problem. Then I did the exact same thing, but did it on a cash flow sheet. I just put an insert line, delete line on one of these cash flow sheets. It turns out that inserting a line on that input sheet takes a whole lot longer than the output sheet. So that's the result when I did it with the entire line. And you can check this. Everything is transparent. I put all the files on, this time I'm trying this OneDrive BS thing, but I put all the files, on my, chapter 1 or something. Yeah, it was chapter 1. Okay, in Excel section in chapter 1. Okay, and then I said, okay, let's lock the cells using the F4. And then so this time I delete the last line, just change that one line, and then again, copy to all 80 sheets and see how long it takes. And here's the interesting thing. This one took 13 seconds. This took 1 second more. I don't know if there's something a little off with the test or something. And then in terms of inserting the line, which I find the biggest problem, which that's it. One of these things said it was a problem. You get exactly the same result. You can do this. Take my things. Tell me what I'm really curious to see if I did anything wrong, because this is exactly kind of what I do in the programs. And then for inserting the final sheet, it was a little more, and that was a relief. And I say, old wives' tale bullshit about telling me that I can't, when I insert the line, it takes a whole lot longer. Now, then, then I'm going to talk about the offset function. Oh my God, this sucks. This rainbow program. Oh, I hate it. The auditors come in and say, we're going to run a rainbow program, give you a score. You got a bad score, you disastrous piece of shit. Well, the rainbow program gives you a bad score if you have the offset function. And everybody says, oh no, offset function, volatile. And nobody's tried to write their own function and see that application volatile doesn't make a damn bit of difference. I wish it did in a way sometimes. I wish I could get some of these UDF functions that I write to really be a little more active and make absolutely sure they run every time. But the sum functions, every time I change, I assure you, when I change an input, the sum function changes. This is a complete old wives' tales. Even this elegant Jonathan, probably a very nice guy who's an auditor, maybe. I don't know if he'd come to my Excel party. He says, never use the offset function. Oh, no, but he doesn't. There's no proof. This is like the tests of the vaccine these days. You gotta have a valid proof. When one in 7 million people has a problem, that's a really bad result, huh? And then, so this, in one case, I use the offset function. And when I use the offset function, I left the X lookup in. didn't really mean to, but I did because this takes so long. And when I did this, uh, uh, when I used the whatever the offset function, okay, it took me this time with 100 sheets. I did 100 sheets, and I saw how long it takes to make the sheets, which is that many seconds. 1,000 seconds is a long time. That's like 1,000 divided by 60. How many? Few minutes. Okay, I started reading a book. I should read more. And then then, oh God, when you inserted a line, it took forever. I said, oh, maybe the offset function is the real culprit. And then to make a calculation, it took a lot longer, 27 seconds. Now I'm wondering if the lookup function is kind of making it slow. And then I said, okay, let's do exactly the same. Exactly the same. And I swear you can look at the files. Uh, I took the offset function away and just made a SUMIF function. And then I copied to 100 sheets. I took the offset function away so we can get exactly the same result. I made that in another video where you use sum or offset. Exactly the same SUMIF. It's a little bit painful to use. No, SUMIF might be a more elegant way to do this particular problem. Although if you have a DSRA account, I don't see how you do it. Okay, and then look at this. I swear it's a different file. Look at this. I even had to put the name of the file up here. And it gave me exactly the same results, these three results. It gave me exactly the same result. It did not. This offset, this thing is another piece of old wives' tale. So we've proved this one, which is really emotional to me, is an old wives' tale. This one is an old wives' tale. We could go to test a few of these other things. A really objective test with a placebo, it's not a randomized test, obviously, but that's what you want to do. Now, for the rest of this video, I just changed my mind. I'm going to stop this video and I'm going to have part one and part two. Nobody's going to look at part two, which is the technical part. Okay, that's what I'm going to do.